Hello guys, my name is Chris and I'm based in Sofia, Bulgaria. And together with Lino, my friend Lino,
Hello there.
We'll be speaking about the opportunities for outsourcing in Bulgaria. Before we start with our presentation, I just want to let you know that you can ask your questions just below the live screen. And after our presentation, we'll try to answer all of your questions. Without further ado, I'm gonna switch to my presentation and hope you will enjoy it. Just 1 second. Give me 1 second because the presentation obviously is not there, but I'm gonna try to open it now.
Difficulties.
A little bit of technical difficulties. Give me 1 second. Sorry about this. Yeah, we figured it out. So, yeah. It's a bumpy start, but everything will be fine.
Yeah. I'll give you 5 minutes
Here you go.
for questions more at the end.
Yeah. So here we go with our lovely presentation from Sofia. Actually, we're at Obecto's office, which is Lino's office. And I hope you'll like our short presentation about outsourcing in Bulgaria. And I'll start with the wrap up about why you should outsource in Bulgaria. And after that, Lino will share his experience in doing so. A couple of words about us. As I said, my name is Chris. And for the last couple of years, I've been a growth engineer at Imaga. And on the next slide, I will show you a little bit more what Imaga is about. And I'm also quite actively involved in the startup ecosystem here in Sofia as a board member of a startup foundation, one of the organizations that is quite active on the startup scene. And we organize lots of events here in Sofia, maybe exactly what Startup Germany does in Berlin and in Germany. This is what we aim to do here in Sofia. And I'm also a blogger, even though I don't have much time to blog, and quite an Apple fan. And I will give the mic to Lino to do a short intro about himself.
Sure, guys. Hi. So basically, my story is I started my career as an engineer, as many people here in the startup industry in Sofia. Some years ago, I was actually working for a few years in ACP Labs, Bulgaria. Then in 2009, I decided to move into the startup field, and I started by co-founding a non-profit organization, which is now kind of involved in education for entrepreneurship in Bulgaria. And since then, I've been a founder in 3 startups. We've raised money, we've developed different digital products. And in the end, after a few failures, I became a partner in the software studio Obecto, where we are about 30 people right now, and we've committed to essentially leveraging the availability of tech talent in Bulgaria. The Sofia startup scene is a bit heavy on tech talent compared to other kind of things that are scarce. And figuring out these interesting business models that would help us essentially get really deeply involved in international teams where innovations happen in different, mostly servicing startup companies or corporate teams doing new product development or starting a new product line of business for the corporation. And thus we're also corporate consultants, corporate innovation consultants. So this gives me a lot of insight into what types of tech startups want to outsourcing Bulgaria, want a contract work here, and I'll be the one providing some. I'll be supporting Chris in providing a few stories with this.
Awesome. Linus speaks a little bit fast.
We'll try to manage
English and also Bulgarian. Unfortunately, we don't speak good German, so we'll continue on in English. And I'm going to give you a very short overview of what I'm been doing the last couple of years. Imaga is a platform for image recognition, and we try to figure out what's in the image and suggest relevant keywords. And it's been a great journey for us being part of a startup, even though my background is like an engineer in electrical engineering, but currently I do lots of marketing. Before Imaga, I was doing lots of outsourcing, and some of our clients, we've been based here in Sofia, but worked for a Swiss agency and worked for Swisscom, a couple of projects, and also for Swissair, and also for a couple of great places for skiing in Switzerland. We did a mobile project for Sunrise and MTV Mobile, and a couple of other clients that we've been working on some projects. So let's say I do know how outsourcing works and what are the difficulties and what are the challenges to outsource to a country like Sofia. Actually, this is our capital. And the country is Bulgaria.
Yeah. Oldest country name in Europe, right?
Yeah. Okay. Why Bulgaria? Like maybe some basic facts about Bulgaria. As you may know, this is the poorest country in the European Union, and our GDP is like 45 billion. It's like maybe 20 times less than the Germany GDP. Quite low unemployment rate, about 13%, even though in Sofia the employment rate is like below 4%. So basically, if you want to find work, you need to move to Sofia. Youth unemployment is quite high, as in the most of the European members countries. But as I said, Sofia is doing quite well. You'll be surprised how low are the wages here in Sofia and all over Bulgaria. Like the minimum wage is like below 200 euros a month. This is not a day, it's a month. And the average for the country is like 425 euros, even though in the ICT sector, and especially in outsourcing and software development, the salaries are quite higher than this in a couple of times, maybe 3-4 times, but we'll give overview about this in a couple of minutes. Almost 3% of the ITC almost 3% of the people who are capable to work in the country are employed in the ITC sector, and they generate 6% of GDP of the country. And what we find out that over €1 billion is the turnover for the software development in 2013. It's not surprising that 50% of the native ID exported are oriented, and out of this 50%, 90 are exports to Western Europe, USA, and Canada. Germany is taking a quite big stake in this outsourcing in terms of software development. Now I'm going to give you my 10 reasons why you should outsource to Bulgaria. Later on, Lino will explain how it works actually.
Yeah.
Working in a company that does mainly that. And you'll discover that it's more than, the lower prices and the affordable way of living. It's a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge that has been gained during the years of outsourcing here in Bulgaria. Mm-hmm. Well, my reason number one is the emerging startup ecosystem in Bulgaria. And of TechCrunch and all the tech news, you hear about, the great startups of Berlin, London, maybe Paris. Lots of things are going on in Dublin, but to be honest, Sofia is quite vibrant in terms of startups. Even though the startup community is quite new, in the last couple of years, there there have been like 200 startups that have been funded by 6 local VCs. And this is compared to other major startup hubs, this is not big. But for the region, it's quite big because like none of the surrounding countries have seen something like that. And like in Romania, Macedonia, Serbia, and Croatia, there are not so much VCs who are active and who are actually investing in startups. Proof that things are happening over here is that there is Better House, originally started in Berlin, of course, but there is Better House Sofia, who is full to the brim, and I think in a month or so they're going to be moving to another office, to another place, a couple of times bigger than their existing one. There are lots of startup meetups, like Silicon Drink About, Startup Talks, and also I, as a part of the Startup Foundation, we organize a startup conference that attracts lots of people from Bulgaria and the region. As I mentioned, there are 6 VCs who are active on the Bulgarian market, and they invest in acceleration and seed companies. Some of them, yeah, most of them are. Like the most prominent names, and maybe you have heard them or maybe not, are called Launchpad and 11, and they have 20 million instrument from the Jeremy program. It's a mixed private and public money, and for the last 2 years, they've been investing in almost like 180 startups. 11 have posted a blog post about the size of the acceleration in the country, and they find out that Sofia is the 3rd in number of accelerated company, and this should not be mixed with companies on later stage like seed or growth companies who are on growth level, but like it's quite big. And before us on acceleration stage companies are only Dublin and London. Even Berlin and Paris are behind. This is not true for bigger and later stage investments. Having these 6 VCs active in Bulgaria attracts a lot of talent from the neighboring countries, and they move in, and they join the startup ecosystem, and this creates momentum, and it's a great opportunity for Bulgaria to shine. Yeah. So this is my reason number 1. Reason number 2, and I've probably already mentioned that, is the abundance of tech talent. And there's some facts that we're on 3rd place worldwide in number of certified IT professionals per capita. Of course, maybe India holds the highest number in total, but this is quite important, quite significant. And if you skip the other parts of the world and leave just Europe, Bulgaria is number 1 in Europe by number of certified IT professionals. It's quite popular outsourcing destination, and some sources say that we're number 2nd in the European Union in terms of attractiveness for outsourcing, right after Estonia. So not surprised, probably. And we're in 5th place worldwide. Another funny fact that I should mention, and probably Startup Germany know something about this, is that during some of the events that we organize, like startup weekends, 60% of the attendants are developers, which is totally not the case in the most European capitals and even the tech hubs. Mm-hmm. So we enjoy a lot of developers coming to our events and to the hackathons. Bulgaria is quite famous with participating in the international Olympiads for informatics and also for mathematics. And overall, we're in the 7th place in the world of number of gold medals.
Chris, I think I messed up your slide here. The third in the bottom of the first
Yeah.
relates to math Olympiads, and this is something which a lot of the people in our team have been involved with. Actually, I was just trying to verify this data, but I think Bulgaria is actually third in the world in terms of medals for high school students. That basically we study a lot of math here, and it comes naturally. So a lot of the tech success cases here, for example, rendering engines, gaming engines, and these types of algorithm-heavy stuff. So this is the uniquely qualified talent that you really find in Bulgaria, I think. Sorry for interrupting. Right back to you. Yeah,
it's totally fine. Yeah, what I wanted to stress over here is that there is a lot of tech talent and lots of hardcore guys who like to go deep into algorithms and apply stuff. And this is the reason why, for example, a very prominent Bulgarian startup has been so successful. It's called House Group, and they do rendering engine for 3D models.
Yeah, basically the Matrix, Avatar, all these movies, they've been ultimately rendered by these guys' algorithms. So they are a very kind of niche company, but they're a global market leader. Then you have companies like Skyscanner, like a couple of other flight search engines, which are super heavy on algorithms, that develop their hardcore stuff, like SoundCloud, something familiar to the German guys. They come to Bulgaria specifically to develop voice processing algorithms to scan their content and do pattern analysis and so on. So this is something we really heavily study in our universities. When you study computer science here, Sofia University is one of the leading in the world in terms of numerical approaches to functional analysis, something like that. So this was kind of the point.
Yeah, absolutely. So
not so great on application development, maybe. I mean, as comparison, but still, of course, a lot of availability of that type of people.
Yeah, exactly. So what we want to say is that we have a vibrant and very committed dev community, and they're not just geeks, but they also attend lots of events, and they talk to each other, and there are lots of how strange is that? Like developers talk to each other. And also there are lots of active support groups, like for every single technology that you know, and they're quite active contributors for lots of outsource projects as well. Well, this was my reason number 2, and a couple more to go. So, reason number 3 is the number of tech students. As Lino mentioned, lots of people go to the university and they study hardcore like physics, mathematics, and information technology, computer science stuff. To go to the university is kind of the dream of every single Bulgarian family. So from the very beginning, in your childhood, you're remembered all the time that you need to study to be able to go to be well in life. And like
Bulgaria has over 60 universities, right? On 7 million people. I think it's getting quite ridiculous.
Yeah, it's quite unique. Like 60 universities, and for the country so small, it's amazing.
This doesn't necessarily say that the quality of the education across the board is great, if you have to be honest, but it's something that it's like Germany is similar. I think in Bulgaria maybe half the population has a university degree. It's a very high number.
It says like 1/4 of the population holds university degree, and like every year 35,000 students get an IT-related degree. As it says on my slides, that 50% of the universities in Bulgaria offer some kind of computer-related programs. What is quite important to mention over here is the efforts of a couple of companies and a couple of groups of enthusiasts that have started doing extracurriculum and outside of university education. And Telerik is one of the most successful IT companies in Bulgaria, which was currently sold to US company Progress Software.
262 million.
Yeah, so which is basically the biggest recent exit in the country. It sets a high standard, but what they've been doing for a couple of years, they organized something they call the Telerik Academy. And almost 12,000 students go through their programs, and they have like 25 tracks or something like that, and over 1,300 video lectures. So basically, they have a whole building which used to be like a mall that they converted to educational center, and this is the way they try to select the best out of their students, and they hire them, and the rest goes to other companies that need developers and software engineers. Something which started 2 years ago, it's called Software University, which does pretty much the same, and we see lots of people actually signing up and taking lessons in development, like from small kids, like fifth to sixth grade, to older people who have been doing marketing for the lifetime, and now they try to switch over and learn something new. So this is like very positive thing.
I think to be fair, we should mention Access Software as a massive contributor to Software University, which is a big gaming company here, as well as the Republic Online Academy, which is not yet at the scale of Telerik Academy, but I think it's a massive contribution to certain types of technical skill sets being widely for free available for education of everybody who wants that in Bulgaria.
Yeah. So basically, if your university education doesn't meet the requirements of the software company you want to apply to, you can learn additional skills and additional languages in Telerik Academy and Software University, a couple of other places. And most of the courses are quite affordable, and some of them are free, like Telerik Academy. So this was my reason number 3. Reason number 4, the proof of the big companies who have moved to do lots of things in Bulgaria, and these are not call centers, but these are huge companies, ITC companies who do lots of software, and they have research and development centers. Like HP has a global distribution center with over
distribution.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it is called Global Distribution Center.
Funny.
I didn't know about it, but anyway, so it's like maybe the biggest office of HP in Europe. It's like 4,000 people. IBM is over 400. We have like a huge SAP office here in Sofia, and
one of 10 locations in the world, I think.
Yeah, and they also do some development over here, so it's not a sales office. Skrill,
actually, interruption to give a context into what most of these companies are doing, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
I spent 4 years working in SAP, and essentially, the business unit here is, I think, 15 people. The rest is one of the 10 SAP labs offices across the world. And what's being developed in Bulgaria is the entire Java application server. So essentially, the only people that are working in this field, or the current cloud platform for SAP, are a team of about 20 people forgot the location of SAP in Germany. It's a small village.
Stuttgart.
No,
close to Stuttgart. Yeah, somewhere.
It's actually closer to Heidelberg, but anyway. And also, and a small team in another place, but it's under the management of the local office, and it's really hardcore stuff related to JVM technologies and kind of the clustering architecture of the company. So it's really hardcore stuff which they usually move to this location. It's the same with VMware, where they're doing the vast core technologies of their virtualization engines beside their office in San Francisco. The second place where they're working in this really low level stuff is here in Sofia. So this is really the type of talent that's world leading, but then you have diversity in other areas as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for the help.
Yeah.
These are big names in terms of corporations, like quite big guys, but we also have, example as very successful startups that do development over here. So Product Hunt is partly developed in Sofia. SoundCloud used to be partly developed in Sofia, not anymore. They moved to Berlin now.
They moved part of the team to Berlin, and then the others moved to other startups as well. It was a management decision issue because one of the senior guys exited who had equity. So
yeah. But anyways, and recently we've seen Uber moving into Sofia with over
second dev office in the world. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah,
okay, so
the first one after San Francisco.
Okay, so like 40 developers are based over here, and they're gonna work on the hardcore technology of the Uber. And also we have people who are actively supporting and working on Firefox OS, Red Hat, Linux, and some others. Like the Bulgarian examples, very successful, as we mentioned already, are Telerik, which is over 700 people, and they have like offices in.
They have like over 1,200 people actually, but most of them are based in the US. Now they opened subsidiaries there, a few of them. Yeah.
Okay, and of course House Group with the V-Ray 3D rendering engine for movies and 3D models.
Quite a few others.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of things are being developed over here. Okay, my reason number 5 is the Lego framework and taxes. You won't be surprised as Bulgaria being part of the European Union that our Lego framework is harmonized with the European Union legislation, and also we're pretty much covered on the IP, the transfer of IP, which Lino will probably explain later on a little bit how this is done.
On this slide, maybe it would be easiest to make a note on that, because in terms of the legal framework, we've actually done a bunch of research on that as well. I was part of a Harvard Business School initiative with the Michael Porter Institute on the Bulgarian IT cluster. And we studied that, and basically the Bulgarian legal framework is very similar in our new constitution after 1990 to Austria. So it might be, I don't know how that's similar to Germany, but it's quite simple, at least for Austrian lawyers to do work here. And then on the IP laws, we have one of the newest IP legislations in Europe, which was developed by a fellow Bulgarian of ours who actually know, who is a Cambridge professor in IP law. And it's quite mature in that sense, mostly because it was developed like 6-7 years ago as compared to other countries where it has a lot more legacy. So that's, I think, kind of very friendly for our tax scene here. And the taxes, of course.
Yeah, in terms of taxing, we have 10% flat rate on taxable profits for corporations and also for individuals. And maybe we have the lowest social security payments in the whole European Union. So this helps a lot when it comes to,
lifestyle per euro,
Yeah, not paying too much back to the government and keeping, all the payments legal, because this used to be a huge problem over here when taxes were a bit higher and nobody was actually paying taxes. But this is quite good, like compared to the rest of the European Union, 10% flat rate for, on the income, it's awesome. So this was reason number 5. Reason number 6, we're very well connected. It's quite affordable. So basically it's 2 hours flight from Berlin, Frankfurt, Munich, whatever you call it. And there's like a daily flights. And EasyJet, Bulgaria, Lufthansa, Air Berlin, all of them fly almost daily from and to Sofia. It's very convenient. Something that's very cool about Sofia, it's probably very much like Berlin. Like in Berlin Tegel Airport, it's it's a short trip to the airport.
To the center, yeah. It's actually better.
Yeah, and here it's even better. Like takes literally 10 minutes to go by taxi to the airport. So it's super fast and super sufficient. We have a new terminal. If you don't fly low cost but use Lufthansa, if you're Lufthansa member.
Bulgaria is really good. It's 130 euro round trip to Berlin, and maybe 150 to Munich. So
Yeah. In terms of internet, very fast internet. It's a bit faster than the average in Germany. It used to be, the second fastest in Europe after Romania, but things have changed during the last couple of years. But still, we have
top 10 in the world. Still, I think the internet infrastructure in Bulgaria.
Yeah, it's because it's very new and it's fiber optics. I have fiber optics running to my flat, which is not very common.
I think the story is not because it's new, but it's because there is so little regulation that's enforced here that for all the internet providers it was extremely cheap to put optics on top of your barn, essentially, or whatever you have. So it was connected like instantly, very, very well.
Yeah. Absolutely. So also the office rent. Is very affordable here. It's maybe fraction of what you pay in Berlin or any other cities in Germany. And
5 to 12 euros per square meter. 12 euros is really high end. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
so
what we pay,
basically you can easily find 6 to 8 euros per square meter, office rent, and and also we need to mention the very low cost of living. Like you can go out and have a nice dinner with maybe a glass of wine for 6-7 euros.
Let's call it 10 nowadays per person, but still it's very.
But it's very affordable. So this was reason number 6 why you should outsource this to Sofia and Bulgaria. Reason number 7 is like kind of a combination of cultural and time adjustments. So even though we're a little bit different than the Western world, like we're somewhere between the East and the West, and a very mixing tradition, like lots of Turkish food and stuff like that, and lots of Eastern influence, let's say. But let's say that our culture is very close to the principles and the values of the Western Europe, and also being part of European Union helps a lot. What is something which is very, very good is that we're almost in the same time zone, just 1 hour difference, 1 hour ahead. And something about the work culture, people here, developers here are used to overtime, and they never complain. And they never.
The people in that room, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the office right now, and it's 8 o'clock, 8:30 here, and there's still lots of people working.
There are 3 guys.
3 guys, but still,
they're playing video games.
I don't know. Don't ruin my presentation. But basically, people expect that there will be overtimes, and especially when you work in a IT company and development company, and rarely they pay for overtime. Do you pay overtime?
Yeah,
here?
definitely. I mean,
Okay.
to be honest, I disagree with this last point. So sorry but it's like in our case, our people are extremely dedicated. But usually, it's because they're passionate about some project. If they're not, like, go try to get them to stay 1 minute more. I mean, in the IT industry, I think that's no longer true anywhere in the world. But we definitely pay every minute of overtime to everybody. I mean, regardless if you bill it to customers or not. But that's at least our decision. Maybe I'm not sure how widely spread this is. Definitely in startups, we never paid overtime.
Yeah, startups never pay overtime.
But
So
it's part of
yeah,
the culture.
it really depends on the culture of the company. Anyways, and of course, work from home or freelancing is very widely accepted. Do you let them work from home?
Sure. Yeah. It's maybe 1 day per week. It's common, but there is no working hours, something like that, which I don't know how fits this to Germany. Basically, everybody figures out how they want to organize time and be productive. It's kind of very flexible with our setup, but yeah, there I think a number of ways it's organized in. It's very flexible. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, reason number 8. We use almost the same language. Something which is very good about Bulgaria is that people usually study second and third foreign language, and almost half of the population speaks at least 1 foreign language. On the top are English and German. And English is maybe preferred in most of the schools, but lots of people study German these days. And there's some statistic that like Bulgarians speak over 25 different languages. This is one of the reasons lots of call centers are being open over here, because it's very easy for them to find people who speak strange languages like Danish, Finnish, and all this like Hungarian and stuff like that. Basically, Bulgarians like to study languages, especially young people, because the country is quite small, and you realize from the very first moment that if you speak only Bulgarian, there are not so big opportunities for you to develop in your career. So you need to.
13 million people in the world speak Bulgarian, I think, no more than that.
Yeah. So you need to speak English. So the language is not a barrier. Every single developer speaks English, and lots of them do speak German. And part of the reason for this is like the unique and specialized language schools that we have, like an English school, a German school, Russian school, and these are like the top schools in terms of preferability for high school students. So basically, you go to school, you study 1 year just English or just German, and after that, all the other subjects like maths, history, and stuff like that are in the respective language. This was reason number 8. Reason number 9 is the employment cost, and this might be very interesting for you. And we've collected some statistics over here, and I'll ask Lino to go through them very fast.
Okay, yeah, of course. Well, actually, looking at these numbers, I would slightly disagree, but essentially this would map to what employees get after taxes, which again in Bulgaria they are quite low, and there is a kind of a social security cap on taxes at I think 1,300 euros. So I would say increase these numbers by 10 to 25% on the lower end. To basically for you to understand how much you would be paying as a company to have somebody work for you here. But entry-level developers, basically these are typically people that are still studying. Not many people actually finish their degrees here. It's become part of the culture that it's cool to drop out, and so people would more often than not drop out. We normally don't mind in our company to have that. It's becoming quite common in the IT industry at least. They would get maybe start at 500 euros, which would be somebody who would necessarily, hopefully you would have somebody to mentor him that's more senior. Then junior people with 1-2 years professional experience, this is, as you see on the slide, it's really, it kind of levitates around 1,000 euros, what you would normally pay them. Intermediate people will typically get between 1,000 and 2,500, depending on company, industry they're working in, their expertise and so on. And senior people that have can kind of own projects and have more years of experience would get, as Chris says, noted in the slide, 1,500 to 3,500, where you would get salaries like with people in lower management positions that get to 5,000 euros, in more higher management positions above that. But it's very kind of volatile company per company. And a lot of the kind of key drivers to people to work somewhere are not the money actually. Because in Bulgaria, even though compared to Germany, this might seem as lower salaries, from my experience spending time in Germany with my ICP colleagues, is that normally in Bulgaria with this money you get a much better lifestyle than the respective people in Germany because of the cost of living and the cost of lifestyle here. So this is one of the reasons why these salaries haven't been put further up, but rather for the people to decide where to work. There are a number of other factors that are more driving. But more on that later if you're interested in the Q&A section. And yeah, go on, Chris. Oh yeah, there was a second slide to that. Well, I already covered that while I was speaking earlier. You'll get this presentation afterwards, I think.
Okay, thanks, Lino. And my last point, reason number 10, is like something funny, like maybe you should get out of your comfort zone and do something interesting, and being able to meet and get to know some interesting people. So it might be also not very profitable business, but also a fun business to come and outsource to Bulgaria. Of course, there's a lot of trust involved, and it's like a mutual learning process. Like we adjust to your way of doing business, and you adjust to our ways of doing development. But it's quite easy, as I mentioned. We speak the language, pretty much the same time zone, and also pretty much the same culture. Bulgaria has been exposed to the Western culture and influence during the last couple of like decades, let's say.
Yeah, it needs to be involved in its in some of its formations on some levels quite actively before 1945. If you want to get historical here, but yeah, sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, it's no problem. And of course, some people came to Bulgaria to do outsourcing, to do business and live a little bit better with the money that they get. But also, they found a person, and we know a couple of people there.
Okay, let's not solve that. That's a good. Actually, I've been spending some time in different places in Germany because we have a few customers there, like both in the west part, in the southern part, but in Berlin especially, which was a more new experience for me. And what I've noticed is that, especially since you got the new mayor there after the 12 years of your previous mayor, who basically defined Berlin as the kind of cultural and early stage technology capital of Europe, at least from what we see from abroad. A lot of people there were actually mentioning to me that from their point of view, Sofia might be the next place where they would hang out, especially the international guys in Berlin. As soon as Berlin becomes expensive for your kind of artistic endeavors and early stage tech startups. And this is there are quite a few cultural and kind of city-wide reasons for that to be happening. And if you're considering working with companies here, I would strongly advise you to spend a couple of weekends here in Sofia just going to some underground parties and to some of the tech events, and you would kind of, I think, get the picture without me telling you more. Sofia is, over the last 3 years, is becoming really more international than it used to be, and there are quite a few people from Germany here that are based here. We have a quite active community of Germans doing business in Bulgaria who have their events, their NGOs and their support groups. So I think it's very friendly for a number of perspectives. Yeah.
Okay, so these were my 10 reasons why I should do outsourcing to Bulgaria, and now I'll hang the mic, even though Lino was taking part during the whole time, and he'll give you some very practical information about how they're doing it and what they learned during the years of outsourcing to Bulgaria.
Thank you for that, Chris. Yeah,
you're welcome.
Exciting. So let's go on. The first thing I want to cover with you guys, and we're running a bit late with time, so I'll try to be quick so we get enough time for Q&A, is why you would want to outsource any part of your work when you're in a tech startup. And basically, since we've been working with a lot of tech startups, we try to map here on this slide what are the key reasons we see our customers engages here, or engage anyone in the industry. And I would start with the first two that are quite obvious, I think, for a lot of people when you hear outsourcing, and it's well, one of them is cost, and I don't think I need to explain this one very much. And the second one is availability, which tends to be the one that comes up a lot when you talk about Bulgaria, because it's no longer much cheaper than many of the other places where our customers come from. The case with availability is that, for example, if you, for whatever reason in your company, need to onboard, say, 10 developers with experience with enterprise Java and Oracle DBs and whatnot, then it would take you less time to do that in Bulgaria than you do it in Silicon Valley, for example, regardless of how much money you're willing to spend. It's just that that's kind of the scene here in terms of this tech talent and who does what. And you might not find the greatest leading expert in some of the fields or any of the fields here in Bulgaria, because normally they will be focused around places like Silicon Valley or Seattle or Boston or whenever, or maybe some place in Israel, wherever the top leading company doing that thing in the world is right now. And the decision making is happening, except for the people that choose to remain here, which are, I think, a few examples of world leading people in some technology which choose their home place because of lifestyle reasons. But you'll find some top-notch people in some of the areas, for example, like algorithms. So these types of availability are, I think, a crucial reason why you come to do work here. For example, why a company like Uber would choose to do it, where salaries, I would argue, they're not necessarily a challenge for them given their financial situation at the moment. But when we talk about what we're doing, for example, as a company, that's we are not really dealing that much with neither of the first two reasons. And to be honest, our team and our kind of my partners in our management here who don't like us to talk of ourselves as outsourcing, because this is kind of having a too heavy suggestion and connotation related to the first two examples, which I don't know if it's only in Bulgaria, but generally you would name outsourcing any type of engagement of a subcontractor for whatever reason. So regardless why the other reasons are, what are the other reasons on why people outsource it we see quite often, I would go into the other examples. And in a tech startup, one of the good reasons I think you should find a subcontractor is number 3, which is software development is not a key activity in our company. So I'll go in a little bit more depth here. When you're working in a startup environment, you would sometimes get the misconception that you're innovative in everything you're doing, But essentially, most successful startups are very by the book and very basic and have a very risk management oriented in everything they do, besides some one core area of innovation, where they either focus on being really innovative or promise to be really innovative as soon as their initial growth strategy works, and that's where they would invest all their efforts from a technical perspective. From our portfolio, for example, we have this German company called Avaco, which is basically this tech startup that's focused on developing waste processing reactor technology for organic waste. So all the junk that comes out of your beer production is this material which you can recycle and turn it into high quality coal. So this is a technology patented in the University of Karlsruhe, and then a group of investors and entrepreneurs in the area incorporated a company in Switzerland with some Swiss investors and developed this technology, and we've been there with them for 4 years. These guys have a team of about, I think, 20 engineers working on this technology, but software development, even though it's a core part of their value proposition in business, and it's part of their intellectual property and patents, is not a key activity for them. That's why they contracted us. And essentially, we've been providing all this expertise, and we've developed a number of software products with them since their prototype was the size of a pot, and now it's a 3-story building with a couple of reactors. Their current prototype they're working on. They already have customers. We've essentially done everything that's any kind of software product related to this business over the last 4 years. So this, I think, is a very good outsourcing example where it makes a lot of sense for them to have this outside their company, because it achieves a lot of things like manage risk and get certain type of experience in the mix and so on. They've even asked us to consult for them and help them kind of transfer some of our management practices in their other engineering processes that come from the software industry, which would have been challenging for them otherwise. Another example here I want to give is sometimes you don't have the experience in finding, recruiting, managing, and developing a tech team. And this is a key activity in your organization, but you don't want to face the challenges of this at the very beginning. So I'll give another example of a customer of ours. We're working with this Swedish company called Rivinet, which was founded by the ex-director of digital media of the Associated Press. So this guy, he's been involved in, for example, producing the author, was she Astrid Lundgren, the Pippi the Longsock, this book?
Yeah.
So he was a very successful producer of games, of books, of a number of kind of creative assets. He's one of the founding guys in the game Battlefield before they sold it at a very early stage. And then he was engaged in news a lot for many years. So his case was that he was kind of a celebrity in the industry. He had a lot of access to capital very early on because of his experience. And he also was able to leave AP with a contract for us to use, or for their company essentially, to use all of their premium content near real time, and also a similar deal with Reuters. And he was able to onboard a bunch of content providers very easily on. However, we were in a position to take ownership of the entire product development from an engineering perspective for their business before we moved on to transferring some of that expertise to an internal team. And we've committed to do that in the long run. So for them, it was big management kind of simplification to find a partner like Ubecto to be the technology partner, so they don't have to focus on this aspect until it becomes absolutely necessary and get to market faster, hopefully. So this is kind of one very important reason why somebody decides to outsource. Another aspect of this is process maturity. So even if you have this experience and you have the money and it's a key activity and you have access to the best talent, for you to develop a mature software development organization with all its processes takes years. And at the same time, if you're in a startup context, this is never a priority in the first couple of years to that degree. So a lot of the startups don't develop maturity in their software processes until much later, when they have to kind of reinvent a lot of their technology. And this is quite normal in the life cycle of a startup. So uh, a lot of kind of our clients would like to join us after the Series A stage. So they would kind of inherit a lot of our process maturity. And this also serves as a risk management for the VCs. Because when you have a partner that already has a proven track record, this is something you can really showcase as kind of this reduces the likelihood that you would fail because of your software development as a risk. And this is especially a problem for founders that don't have a technical co-founder in their initial founder team. Another reason we've seen quite a lot is that you sometimes, even though you can develop something internally, you want to have some kind of an external angle to your organization. The way we see this case is a lot of companies who developed, say, a web platform and it has already users and they're getting traction with this, at some point decide to develop mobile apps. And for example, some of them choose to be mobile first and do this in a different way, but we've seen this quite a few times. And they choose not to hire developers to develop this internally, but have a partner for this because what they see is if they work with us, they would inherit a lot of our experience in launching a lot of mobile apps. And they would get an external angle to their product, and they would pick our brains on that as well. So they get this as an added value for essentially having the same costs of doing this internally. And this has been kind of a common value proposition we've been delivering to customers. Another interesting aspect is a specific non-acceptable type of expertise. Which a good example for that is we're working with this company called Dreambox in the US, and I think we got engaged with them after they raised their Series A of 7 million, and afterwards they think raised about 26 million in total in the next year. But they were already on some kind of a growth curve. And they were in a situation where these guys are developing, essentially, to give you some context, educational games for classrooms. And everything they did up to that was based on Flash technology and was designed to run in a browser. But at some point, they decided to start giving out iPads as part of their offering. So they were in a tough position that they essentially needed to redevelop a lot of their games. And they engaged us actually on because of the previous point. As far as I'm aware, actually, I wasn't part of that deal. Well, what we were able to do for them there was suggest a way for them to, essentially using Adobe Air on iOS, to migrate all their gamings and to get them games and get them ported. And then we kind of help them change their architecture of how they develop games on their platform in order for that to be more friendly for running on top of iOS. And none of the, as far as I understand, of the other suppliers, they try to get them on board to help them were in a position to suggest this level of expertise in really understanding Flash technology, which is something that was kind of core to our organization. For example, we've trained the entire VMware team on their front-end stuff and so on. And this was kind of an example of very niche expertise that they didn't want to develop internally, so they used us to do that for them. And we are, for example, doing similar things when we need to deal with scalability and the people on the other side don't understand, for example, Hadoop, and they don't want to kind of invest in getting that knowledge and they want to buy it somewhere else. And kind of the last point I want to do here, that is very often is the decision of having some kind of a hybrid solution or outsourcing solution or a partnership solution is driven by risk management, because and this comes on all of on the kind of aspects above. Is because when you have a partner that already has a proven track record and is expected by all kinds of internal and external stakeholders to succeed in some kind of a new product development or new project, this really helps you feel safer on some risks. And this can be kind of transferred to all the points above. So this is kind of the aspect on why you want to outsource. And I think that's very important for you to understand early on in your decision making on whether you should outsource something or not as an organization. Then another key aspect is at what stage in your product development. Obviously, you can do it straight off in the beginning. You can do it after you have some kind of a product you're happy with, or anytime around this product development. You can do it at any stage for part of your product, or you can do it at the growth stage, when you're facing a new load and kind of challenges from a technical perspective related to growth. And it's a completely different story what you do at each of these stages. And then you should be aware of the risks that are involved. And I've outlined a bunch of them. They usually translate to a similar risk when you're doing this internally instead of with a technical partner. But I will quickly go through a few of them to kind of give some light on to that. And actually, I'll skip most of them because we don't have time, but I'll be happy to answer questions and shoot those afterwards in the follow-up. But essentially, for example, if you're a startup, some of the really key things are how do you treat your intellectual property and your core area of innovation. And in the cases where you outsource a lot of this development, there are all kinds of issues on whether you're dependent on your partner too much, how would investors see this? This is my second point, implication on investor relations. Are you essentially giving up the ability to innovate if you're outsourcing a key aspect of your business where this is a key activity? And are you essentially changing the fabric of the team interactions when you have all your engineers outside of your office very early on? And there are a lot of people that would argue that this is a really bad idea, especially at the early stage, and most US-based investors wouldn't consider funding you unless you have the technical team in your room working for you. We've been successful in doing that with a lot of European startups, never with an American one, and European investors tend to be a lot more flexible. But these are things you need to really consider if you're thinking of doing that, and to understand why this is applicable or not applicable to our organization. This is a complex discussion. I'll be happy to either answer follow-up questions after this talk or to discuss in the few minutes we'll have for Q&A afterwards. But it's something that's quite complex and it works, but under certain preconditions. Then the follow-up on that is a kind of tech-driven product insight, and you need to make sure you find a way to get this as part of your product development in order to be successful in a tech startup if you're outsourcing the technology. Then there are a lot of issues like control, because you don't have that much control of an external organization as you do with your internal team. And there are things that happen in your partners, like changes of priority on their business, change of quality of their delivery, if priority changes, and a lot of things you have no control over, and you can't necessarily control this with money, which you might not have in abundance as well at a certain stage. Then another key aspect is how you manage a transition to internal teams. To an internal team, if this is something you have in mind, and this is something you really need to think at the very beginning and to provision for that and agree on that early on if you want this to happen. Then another risk that I think our clients really overlook, but it's something that we've really had serious problems because is ensuring the continuous adequate client-side capacity of expertise and availability of people in order to participate in relationship. What we've seen happen a lot is our clients come to us with a lot of requirements, but they fail to understand how this relates to their organization. And we try to support them on this realization, but they not necessarily always follow through. So at one point, they get in a situation where they've requested support on some product decisions, technical decisions, architectures, budgeting, planning, go lives, infrastructure, and so on. And then we get like 5 of our guys to work on these things, and then we flood them information at one big chunk. And we said, really, you need to make decisions on this in the next week, because a lot of these people would otherwise be allocated to other projects and we wouldn't be able to provision on the plan. And then you have a CTO guy on the other side who doesn't have even the time to read to the documentation we produce at the time they request it, or to make his part of the research in order to be able to make proficient decisions. And this is something that's kind of very important to understand what type of stuff and bandwidth you need on your side as well, which of course you have costs of, and it's a more complex management structure. Then a big issue is to get on the relationship, into the relationship solely on quick skill qualification, price and short-term needs you have, because then usually this is a very strategic relationship for you, and it's not gonna necessarily last, because you need to consider things like values, visions of both organizations, and to kind of consider this on a multi-year scope, because even if you're very optimistic on what's going to happen with your business, you need to be able to continue working with your partners for several years quite comfortably for this thing to work out. And then there are a lot of other things which I can talk about, but I'll just keep them in the interest of time, so we can cover a few questions if you prefer. But essentially, all of these risks, they are translated in some way or another if you're running it to the internal team, but they're seeing the light of day in a different way when you have a partner, and you need to somehow make yourself understand what are the implications and differences, and you need to kind of approach this in a systematic way. Like, of course, it's very embedded in the German culture, and we've seen a lot of our German clients be very kind of, well, most of our best clients, many of our best clients are German, exactly because of this, for some reason or another, being more embedded in the culture there to have maturity in process and procedure in these things. And essentially, after I've talked about risk a lot and kind of given potentially a negative connotation, what do you really need to do in order to find a partner and to have a great relationship with them? Well, the first thing is you need to understand why do you want to outsource something from the reasons I pointed out above. Usually cost and solely cost is not a very good answer unless you're willing to be an organization that knows how to leverage that. Very often costs go higher when you have a partner, but you get a lot of added value than running it internally. I mean, even if this sounds surprising for you in the very beginning, it happens quite a lot. Then you need to understand, based on all the risks you want to manage and all the whys and so on, to understand on what phase and what part of your development you want to subcontract. Then you want to understand which of the risks are really important for your organization's risk management. You can't manage all of them very well. Some of them are gonna happen no matter what you try to do. And then you need to prioritize on what type of risk management you want to do. You can't manage everything at once at the same level of quality. Then you need to find potential partners based on some kind of a trusted relationship basis. And this, for that reason, is a very relationship-based business. You need to find a way to verify them and have some choice, I imagine, or have a very trusted reference. And then you need to develop some kind of a reasonable way to qualify the partner. And usually what you see in the book is not the best way. For example, if you want to make a fixed big contract, that very rarely gives you any guarantees about the end cost. There are many other ways to do that, but we see most of the companies that try to do that to do all the wrong things, that create a lot of overhead in the process, a lot of costs on pitch work and so on, and in the end of the day never actually manage the risk they want to avoid most of all. So you need to kind of be willing to grant trust, but then have some kind of a strategy about which of the risk you want to manage. And I would advise you to be very transparent on why you want to outsource, which are the key risks you want to manage, and ask your partner to try to kind of develop some kind of a risk mitigation or risk management strategy for you with this, in order for you to be in a productive relationship from then on. But get your partner to develop this based on their experience, which is gonna probably be better than your experience. And in the end of the day, after you've made a decision and committed to it, you really need to grant trust and empower your partner to actually deliver on you. Because the other thing we see very often in the industry is that people are somewhat afraid to really trust and empower their partners to have a big implication and effect on their business and their product. And unless you do that, you're never actually getting all the added value that comes from that. And there is a lot of it if you find the right partner and you set up the right relationship. And kind of as I mentioned in the beginning, as a company, we're dedicated to really getting deeply integrated in the businesses of our customers, and we've been ended up being a key part in their board decisions, sit on board seats, have equity in these companies on a number of occasions, become some kind of an investor in them. And also as a company, we've profiled so much in that our employee value proposition to our employees is that we promise them that they'll be kind of a key part of that business rather than a resource, kind of a nameless resource in it, and they will have an influence on what happens in this company. And that's why we are able to actually recruit them, some of the best talent in the industry, without necessarily having to pay the highest salaries in the country. So I think this is a really crucial point that everybody misses at the early stage, and I think that's fundamental. And I'm going to stop here, so we can kind of move on to some questions in the -1 minute we have, if anybody is willing to stay on for a couple of minutes. And so thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, for the insights on outsourcing. And we have a couple of questions that we're gonna answer together with Lino. I'll read it first, and after that we'll come up with an answer. So a person needs to know, what do you think, how much can I save compared to the coder in Germany? What does a coder earn in average per hour?
What's the...
So compared to Germany,
Oh, coder. Okay.
a coder.
Yeah. Well, basically, if you work with a company here, you would end up paying between 200 and 400 euros per day. And kind of you can get on the low end of that if you're focused on cost saving, and you can actually pretty easily get on the low end of that, and you can get lower if you're working with freelancers and not with the company on the other side. I'm, to be honest, not really familiar with the market in Germany, but as far as I know, it takes if you want to hire an employee on your team, it would cost you at least 20 euros per hour to have him on your staff, which ends up being well, maybe like if you are paying 200 a day here, it's gonna be lower than having an on-site on your team employee in Germany. But as I said, if you're getting into this relationship in the right way, you'll get a lot of value on top of just having a person code for you. So I would advise to do that. If you wanna make the effort and come here and find freelancers or just any employee and get through that hassle on by yourself, the salaries that Chris mentioned in his slide apply. So this would give you enough of a perspective. It, of course, differs by the skill set of the person.
Yeah. Here is another question. Is it better to have an office in Bulgaria or work via internet with a team in Berlin and the coder in Sofia? What can you recommend? I think both applies. It really depends. I mean,
if you're looking at only one person.
Yeah, if you look like for freelancer, it's okay, not to do the full thing, like having an office over here.
Yeah, normally they would have a seat in a co-working space at the very least, or comfortable.
Yeah, better house and
a bunch of others.
Yeah, but if you really seriously want to outsource, the whole development process and stuff like that, you might reconsider like either hiring a company or renting an office and setting up.
Yeah, it really helps to have kind of a physical environment, I think, for the team to perform.
Yeah. How much is a small office in Sofia? I think we've already answered this question. As Lino mentioned, like per square meter, it's like 6 to up to 12 for Class A office space.
Yeah.
So basically, for a small team of 4 to 6 people, it might be 300, 600 euros per month. If you need to have a bigger office with a conference room, all the facilities, it might be a bit higher. But lots of office spaces, office buildings in Sofia are affordable and not fully booked, so you can find a really good office. Right now, we're sitting in an excellent office with great view to the city and British Mountain.
Yeah, our office, I think we pay just over 5,000 euros a month for it, but we have 30 people here, and it's kind of cool for local standards. So it's kind of on the high end of that, and it's like offices in Bulgaria are a no-brainer. It's really easy to get this set up.
Yeah, and the last question that I think we also have answered is, do people speak generally a good English? I think yes.
I think I don't think I'm a very good English speaker, but I think that kind of is it's kind of average for Sofia. You get shit done. That's I guess the important part.
Yeah, it's a bit rough English. Like our accent is not perfect, but I think it's better than French. French speak English, so. Maybe the same way German.
I think every young people you find in Bulgaria would be able to fluently communicate with you in English. And the kind of the percentage differentiation comes from older people, like people over their 40s. Unlike Germany, where they also speak foreign languages, here don't speak that many foreign languages. Some speak Russian, for example, but I don't think the language barrier is any barrier anymore.
Yeah, I think these are the questions. And thank you very much for staying with us till the end. And hope we've answered your questions. And hope you're excited about doing some business with Bulgaria. As you see, we're normal people. We won't steal. We won't do any harm.
Yeah, and it's funny that I always find it ridiculous when somebody says that. I mean, living in Bulgaria, I think the crime rate here is lower than Berlin, for example, whatever. But there is a lot of kind of Bulgaria has a very negative brand, especially in Europe, not so much in Asia and in the States. With Chris having traveled a lot, I don't know if you're some of the people that see it that way or you don't, but it's we get a feeling it's considered as a dangerous, very corrupt place. It's very corrupt, I think, on the high levels of power. It's extremely corrupt, and it used to be a very kind of crazy place in the 90s, but nowadays I think it's boring to a degree in sense of these
Sofia
issues.
is very safe, and it's fun to live. So yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for staying with us. We believe we've helped a little bit, and if you have more questions, you can, just
please
follow up, email us, use Twitter to ask questions.
Another one. Follow us on Twitter as well.
Yeah.
Extra Twitter followers always help.
Yeah. I think this is it.
Oh, wasn't there another
No,
one?
it's like a thank you. Thank you
Oh,
a lot. The best regards to Bulgaria. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Have fun
can you feel the view, if you don't mind, post which cities are you based in Germany? I'm really curious. I don't know, we don't have a lot of time, but if anybody's willing
Yeah.
to, we're trying to get a sense of the audience.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Cheers.
See you soon. I'll be in Berlin next week, so we'll maybe hang out and have a coffee and chat over
I'll be there
coffee.
later in the year.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.